Good to see everybody this morning. Thanks, worship team, for leading us. Thanks, Bella, for filling in for Susan, who's out of town. Bella, what grade are you in? 11th grade, leading our worship team. Awesome. Great job. Thank you. Applause for that. So I had a great week. I traveled this week. I was visiting my mom down in North Carolina, and then I headed to Chapel Hill on Friday because I'm a huge Carolina Tar Heel fan. Any other Tar Heel fans in the room? Got some over here, some alumni. But my uncle, who also is a great fan, got us tickets, and so I met him on Friday night. We spent the night and saw the game yesterday afternoon. And it was interesting. He kept talking to me about Sylvia, who got these tickets for us. And so he said, I invited her and her husband to dinner with us tonight because she wouldn't let me pay for the tickets. I said, okay. And on the way, I said, who's Sylvia? And he said, I didn't tell you who Sylvia is? I was like, no. He said, it's Sylvia Hatchell. And I was like, okay. And he said, she's the retired head coach for the women's team at North Carolina. And I wikied her, right? I looked her up, and like she's the real deal. Like, you know, three-time national champion coach, you know, one of the leading scoring coaches in the country, Hall of Famer, all of this. So we had dinner with her and her husband, and she's just an awesome person. Plus, she gave us free tickets, and they were really good seats. And we were getting ready to leave. And she said, I didn't tell you. She said, one of my best friends is going to be at the game with us. She's going to be sitting with us tomorrow. And we were like, who's your friend? And she said, Ann Graham Lotz. So for those of you who don't know that name, that's Billy Graham's daughter, who is a nationally known international speaker. So I got to watch the Tar Heels beat Virginia Tech while sitting with Sylvia Hatchell and Ann Graham Lotz. It was an awesome experience. I just wanted to share that with you. I know none of you in here care about the Tar Heels or any of that, but I do. So anyway, but it's great to be back. I got in a little bit late last night, but it's great to be here. It's great to be worshiping together. We're having some technical problems, so if you're normally online or if you're online sometimes, we've had technical trouble the last 2 weeks, so we got to sort that out and not figuring out why we're not able to get up online. So if anybody asks you if you're in small group, anybody want to know, just let them know we're working on it, and we apologize for not being streaming today. So we're getting ready to do hypothermia. We're kind of in the crunch time for hypothermia. Anthony, are you coming? Are you speaking today? Come on up, man. So Anthony's going to tell us. Anthony has served. Last year was your first time serving, right? So he wanted to share just a little bit about his experience and encourage you to serve too. Thanks, man.
Thank you. I was worried I was going to trip on the way up. That worked out. All right. So good morning, everyone. So this is going to be my second time, and volunteering for the Hypothermia Prevention Week, and I'm very excited. The past few, thank you, shout out, all right. I hope to see you there. The past few years, we've seen a lot of people struggle, a lot of people suffer, and honestly, our sense of community really start diminishing. And this is why, in our greatest times of need, we're called to do more. We have to lead through faith and our love for one another. And honestly, not gonna lie, I had no idea what I was getting into last year. I just wanted to be useful. People tend to attach a lot of labels to others. They make character judgments, assumptions, especially to those without a home. I used to live in Hawaii, which, you know, excellent weather, great food, predictable weather, but it also has the highest population of homelessness in the country. Yeah. While there, I worked a lot with their community and their camps on food drives, toilet installations, the works. The lessons I learned from those engagements are similar to what was reinforced to me last year with this program. They're human, they are people, they laugh and love and pray and practice faith and love Jesus all the same. Last year, I spoke with folks from all over the world, with veterans, those who chose to be houseless, victims. And each story I heard, the more I got to know them, the more I learned about myself and the world around me. Everything from playing a game to watching a movie, which last time was Everything Everywhere All at Once, a movie I hadn't heard of, which ended up winning Best Picture, so who knew? Multiverse Kung Fu, I thought it was gonna be like VeggieTales or something, but. It was also great hanging out with and getting to know my fellow volunteers. Hello, good to see you. With all that said and all my ramblings, we go back to one point. In this time of confusion, darkness, hardship, spread the love of God through the practice of goodness. This program is the first reason I fell in love with this church. You all were the second. Let's give that opportunity to everyone with open arms and heed the call of compassion. Thank you.
Thanks, Anthony. So, like I said, it's crunch time. We launch next Sunday, so we still need your help and your support. So just a few things just to keep in mind this morning. First, we're setting everything up on the other end of our building for this after worship. So we're going to order some pizza. Usually takes a couple hours, however much time you got to spend with us if you want to hang around and help with that. We've got to move a little bit of furniture and pull out a lot of supplies and just get everything kind of organized and ready to go for the week. So stay after. It'll be right all the way at the other end of the building. If you've never been over there, you can either go down the stairs and up the stairs until you can't go any further, or you can go around the sidewalk and go in those doors down there. Also, if you haven't signed up for a shift yet, but you plan to, please do that today, just so we know going into the rest of the week where we are with everything and what we're looking at. Our team also said if you've signed up for a shift, you are welcome to sign up for another one as well. So they've got plenty of spots to serve. We added a shift that wasn't previously on the sign up for Spa Night. Spa Night is something we've done for a number of years. It's a hit with a lot of our guests where we just give them manicures and things like that and just kind of do a little bit of pampering. So if you would like to be a part of that, we'd love to have you help us with Spa Night. So see our team out in the lobby about that as well. And then this Thursday at 7:30, and if you signed up, you should be getting an email, I think, with the links and everything. But we have an online training. It's not very long, but just giving you some of the highlights of what you need to know about serving in hypothermia response week. If you can't make that training, let us know. I think we've got it recorded, or we'll be recording the Zoom call that we'll be doing that on, and can get that to you as well. So, but it's coming up. It's going to be a great week of serving. We'll hit some challenges along the way, but we'll navigate those and deal with those. But it's going to be a great week. So I want to thank everybody who's already supported this, who's already signed up and is planning to be here, or you've supported it in some other way. With that said, let's go to God in prayer this morning. God, we thank you for Anthony's story of just how he walked in our church and we were signing people up for this, and so he wanted to be a part and he jumped in, and it made a difference in his life. And in that way, he also helped make a difference in others. So we thank you for him. We thank you for everyone who's served through hypothermia prevention in one way or another over the years that we've been doing this. And we do pray for our guests. We just pray for them wherever they are right now, that you would watch over them and keep them warm and safe. We thank you for the churches that are serving them this week, and the churches that will be continuing to serve them throughout the season after next week. We thank you for Facets and just for them coordinating all this and just give them everything that they need to do that well. And then we thank you for our county and our county government for just recognizing this need, but also the fact that it has some resources to help churches like ours to live out our mission as we serve others and work together with them. And then, God, I just pray for today as we continue this series on wisdom, that you would just open our hearts and our minds to what you want us to know. In Christ's name I pray, amen. So we're in our series on wisdom. We're going to wrap it up next week. We got a lot to cover today, so I just want to jump right in. I'm not doing a recap or anything from what we've talked about, and I just want to start by reminding us that we all have some regrets in life, don't we? I mean, we've all can look back and say, yeah, we've got regrets. We didn't make wise decisions at some point. All of us would love to be able to go back to a season in life, or a weekend in life, or a previous relationship, or whatever, a previous decision, and just do it all over, or do it differently in some way. And when you think about your greatest regret, the truth is, when you look back on it, you probably ask yourself some questions, and maybe one of those questions is this, how could I have been so foolish, right? As you think about that, what was I doing, and how could I have done that, or decided that, or made that decision? How could I have been so foolish? Or maybe you ask that question this way, I should have seen it coming, right? I should have seen it coming. Looking back is really 2020, isn't it? It's always 2020. It's like, if I'd just paid attention to all those things that she said, she gave me so many clues. If I'd paid attention to things he said, he gave me so many warning signs. all of that, or it's like, that interview that I did for that job, I mean, there were so many red flags. I should have seen it coming. Why did I take that job? Or I mean, the salesman, I was talking to the salesman, and if I'd listened carefully, I mean, there were so many red flags that this wasn't the best deal, right? And 0% financing. My parents warned me about that stuff and stay away from that. But the salesman, he was like, well, the more you spend, the more you save. So I thought I was getting like a savings account or something, and I just should have seen it coming. So all of us look back and we think I should have seen it coming. But here's the thing about I should have seen it coming. And let's think about this phrase for just a few minutes. I should have seen it coming. But here's the deal, and it's what we're going after today. If you should have seen it coming, then chances are there was someone in your life who did see it coming, right? If you should have seen it coming, in other words, you look back on that decision, you look back on that circumstance, or whatever it was, chances are you got into that relationship, you spent that money, you took that job, you made that move, whatever it was. And if you look back and you think, man, I just should have seen it coming, then chances are there was somebody in your life who did see it coming. And either you didn't listen to them or they didn't tell you. And the reason they probably didn't tell you is they didn't think you would what? Listen, yeah. So they just didn't tell you, but I guarantee you that in the biggest areas of your life where you look back and I look back and we say, man, why didn't I see that coming? Somebody saw it coming. So if that's true, if we should have seen it coming and either we didn't listen or nobody told us, then here's the question that we need to ask, and this is a really big question. It kind of sets us up for where we're going today, is why is it that we can't see it coming but someone else can? Why is that? And we turn it around and say it this way. Why can I see trouble coming in your life, but you can't? And you can see trouble coming in my life, but I can't. Why is it that I know exactly what you should do, but you don't? And you know exactly what I should do, but I don't. And why is it that if I told you my story, you would know what I should do, but for some reason I just don't? And what can we do about that? Because I think all of us are the same in that we don't want to get to another season in our life and look back on this season of our life and say, man, how could I have been so foolish? Or why didn't I see that coming? But the truth is there's some things that we just can't see them coming. We really can't, but somebody else can. So why is that? Why is it others can see it? Well, I think a big part of why we don't see things that others do is because emotionally charged environments are not ideal for decision making. Let me read that again. Emotionally charged environments are not ideal for wise decision making. And here's the problem. Just about all of the decision making environments are emotionally charged, aren't they? I mean, especially the big ones in life. Emotionally charged environments are not good environments for decision making, and yet big decisions always involves our emotions on some levels. So what happens is our emotions makes what normally would be obvious less obvious to us. And so when it's you, the emotions just kind of cloud the entire decision-making process. But for me, I'm not messed up by your emotions, right? So I can see it clearly, and you can see it clearly. For me, you're in the middle of the storm, and you're surrounded by obstacles, and you're going, what should I do? I don't know. And your friends are looking at you going, really? You can't see that? You don't know? And you can't see it, and here's why. Emotions make decisions difficult, and every major decision in life is full of emotions. This is why I would do a much better job of managing your money than you ever will, right? I would. I'm serious. And here's why I say that. I would never make an impulse buy with your money, okay? I wouldn't do it. You'd say, hey, David, can I spend some money on this? And I would say, no, that's a bad decision. But please, nope, not going to do it. But I want it, right? No, bad decision. If you're a parent, you know this, right? You take your kids to the store, and have you noticed they put all the things that the kids want down on their level, right? Have you noticed that if you're a parent? Yeah, and what happens? As soon as they pick that thing up, whatever it is, right? They've got it in their hands. They feel ownership of it. Right? There's emotion there. Let me tell you, as soon as you sit in that new car and you smell that new car smell, all of a sudden the emotions are going, aren't they? I always say test driving is the same as buying, okay? So just don't do it. But your kids, they do that, and they get it in their hands, and they're like, Mom, Dad, and your mom and your dad, and you control the money, right? And you're not about to spend any money on one of those dumb things because they've already got 3 of them at home, and 2 of them are broken already. And here's the deal, though. Do you know that we never outgrow that? We don't. That as soon as your emotions get attached to a thing, you are prone to make a bad financial decision. And if I was holding your credit card or I was controlling your Amazon account, I would say, forget it. You don't need that, right? I'd make way better decisions about your money than you probably do. And the same holds true for you with my money. And here's why. Because financial decisions are not emotionally neutral decisions. Right? The same is true with our kids, right? The same is true with parenting. Don't you know exactly what your neighbors should do with their kids, right? You know exactly how they should raise their kids. It's obvious. You say, if that was my son, I'd go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? You just got it down. You know exactly what you do. If that's my daughter, I'd never let my daughter do that, right? Maybe you don't even have kids, but you look at the way parents deal with their kids, and you're like, I would never do that, or I would always do that. And you know how to raise kids, right? It's just so clear to you. But then you have your own kids, and you live in a fog for what used to be 18 years is now like 25 years. You're living in a fog as a parent. But before I had kids, I knew how to raise kids. But once I had my own, it's like, why is this so hard? I don't get it. And it's why we look back and we have this amazing clarity. And we say, why didn't I see that, right? Why didn't I get it? And the reason you didn't see it coming is because you were in the middle of it, and the emotional fog, it fogs up our judgment, the emotions do, when we're trying to make decisions. So here's the question we need to ask is, what is the wise thing to do when our emotions are high and our appetites are charged? What is the wise thing to do when our emotions are running and we want things, our appetites are in full charge? What's the wise thing to do if we really want to look back and say, I made the right decision. I saw it coming, and so I made a decision based on that? The answer is one simple word, and that word is this: listen. Listen. Because you don't see it coming, but I guarantee you, somebody else sees it coming. And wise people listen. In fact, wise people recognize when they are in no condition to decide for themselves by themselves. Wise people are the ones who hit the pause button and go, this is emotional. I'm more likely to make a wrong decision when it's emotional. I need to have a conversation with some people. Wise people know when they are in no condition to decide by themselves for themselves. Now, that brings us back to the book of Proverbs, which is what we've been looking at for the last few weeks. And Proverbs, just in case you didn't know, just to recap a little bit, Proverbs was written by a guy named Solomon. And Solomon was the wisest man who lived in his time. Solomon was the third king of Israel. He was King David's son. If you remember David and Goliath, that David. And Solomon led Israel during what was considered Israel's golden age, right? Israel was the most powerful and the most wealthy during Solomon's reign than they ever would be. And the amount of reach that they had in terms of land was as broad as it ever would be. And God gave Solomon the gift of wisdom. God said, I'm going to give people different gifts. He said, I'm going to give some people the ability just to hear a song and be able to play it. I'm going to give some people the ability just to look at a math problem and solve it instantly. He says, Solomon, I'm going to give you the gift of wisdom. And Solomon was so wise that his reputation wasn't that he was rich, even though he was wealthy. And his reputation wasn't that he was powerful, even though he was incredibly powerful. His reputation was his wisdom. And here's what Scripture tells us. In 1 Kings, it says, God gave Solomon wisdom and very great insight and a breadth of understanding as measureless as the sand of the seashore. So he has this incredible amount of wisdom. It says, and his fame spread all around the surrounding nations. From all nations, people came to, and there's our word, came to listen to Solomon. to Solomon's wisdom, sent by all the kings of the world who had heard of his wisdom. So when kings and other world leaders had this big decision to make or a problem to solve, they would say, I know who we need to go talk to. We need to go talk to Solomon. And so they'd call in one of their guys, and they'd load them up with a whole bunch of gold and treasures and silver and all this stuff. And they'd say, I want you to go to Jerusalem, and I want you to get in line. And I don't care how long the line is to talk to this guy. You get in line, and you take our situation to Solomon, and you ask him what we should do. He was that wise. People would line up, and in some cases, they would be there for days or even months, just waiting for a few minutes with Solomon so they could put their case before him and get his incredible wisdom about what to do in it. Now, the good news is you and I, we don't have to get in the line, right? Because Solomon wrote a whole bunch of this stuff down for us in the book of Proverbs. And here's the interesting thing. The wisest man in the world said more about seeking counsel than any other ancient writer did. The wisest man in the world said more about seeking counsel than any other biblical writer. I mean, that would, the man who needed counsel the least, right, spoke about it the most. I mean, because the wisest man in the world, he knew this, that you and I are going to be in situations, and we're going and we're not going to see it coming, but somebody else will. And if we are wise enough to invite them into the decision-making process, we will gain a clarity that we need to make the decisions and to be able to look back and say, I'm glad I did that. So here's some of that wisdom from the book of Proverbs. Here's one of the things that Solomon says. He says, instruct the wise, and they will be wiser still. In other words, you speak to the wise, counsel wise people, and they'll get even more wise. Here's another one he says. He says, a wise man will hear and increase in learning, and a man of understanding will acquire, and this word acquire, by the way, means to seek out. Or in our case, in our day and age, probably, pay for or bring in a consultant or go to a counselor or something like that. But a wise man of understanding will acquire wise counsel, right? Here's another kind of wisdom nugget from Solomon. He says, the way of a fool is right in his own eyes, but a wise man is he who listens to counsel. A fool is right in his own eyes. In other words, I don't need any outside advice. I can see everything that I need to see. I've got all the clarity I need. I can make decisions all by myself. But he says a wise person isn't the person who he says a wise person isn't the person who just needs counsel, but a wise person is the person who listens to that counsel. They never think that they are so wise that they don't need any outside input. And here's the next verse. Plans fail for a lack of counsel. But with many advisors, they succeed. Now, this is amazing to me that Solomon wrote this, because this would be like somebody who has an IQ that's just off the charts, right? This would be like, Sheldon Cooper, right? Or Albert Einstein. You take your pick. This would be like one of them talking about the importance of education. And you'd be like, what are you talking about? Why do you need an education? You were just born smart, weren't you? Right? Or it would be like the most talented musician you've ever met, somebody who could just pick up an instrument, any instrument, and play any song in any key. It would be like that person talking about the importance of taking lessons and practicing. So here's the wisest man in the world who says, here's my counsel. Get many advisors. Right? Don't do it alone. Get input. Don't think that you're so smart and so wise that you can see everything coming. Invite people in to give you advice. A couple of more. Solomon says this, listen to advice and accept discipline. And by the way, discipline here is correction. It's not punishment or anything like that. It's like, I wouldn't do that, or I'd think about that, or I wouldn't take that job, or I wouldn't call them back, or whatever. I wouldn't make that purchase, that kind of thing. Listen to advice and accept discipline. And at the end, you will be counted among the wise. Now, this is a fascinating verse because it's not saying, hey, wise people, right? It's not talking to wise people. It says, would you like to be wise? And you and I would say, yeah, we want to be wise. Well, then listen to the counsel of others, and you will be considered a wise person. And then this last one, it says, where there is strife, so this is a relational proverb. Where there is strife, there is pride. But wisdom is found in those who take what? Advice. Now, here's the deal. I've not said anything so far that you've not heard before, right? I mean, none of you are sitting here going, ask for advice. Wow, that's brilliant. I need to write that down. Where did he come up with this stuff? He's so smart, right? This is not rocket science, and this is not new. But the question is, why don't we do this? I mean, if we all have heard this and we all know this, right? We all know this. We've had enough stories from our lives of I should have seen it coming. How could I have been so foolish? I should have seen it coming. And all of us would probably agree that somebody, most of those times, saw it coming or could have seen it coming. So why didn't I listen? And why didn't somebody feel like they had permission to talk to me? And we all know that decision-making environments are full of emotions, and emotions cloud our ability to make wise decisions. We all know this. We all experience this in life. So why would we ignore this principle that's so apparent and that we've actually benefited from time to time? I think one of the reasons is this, is we already know, don't we? I mean, we already know what the wise person is going to tell us. We know what they're going to say, and we just don't want to hear it, right? And this might be a little offensive to some of you, but Solomon, the wisest man who ever lived in his day, the man that people traveled from all over the world to listen to his advice, Solomon says that if you know what to do and you just don't do it, he has a term for that. He says, and I'll let you finish it, he says that you are a what? Yeah, you're a fool. A foolish person who is someone who knows the difference between right and wrong and chooses to do wrong. So that's one of the reasons we don't listen. We know what they're going to say, and we don't want to hear it. But I think there's another reason we do it too, and it's this. We think it's nobody's business, right? I mean, it's my money. It's my kids. It's my marriage. It's my job. It's my career. It's my life, right? And you know what that is? Solomon tells us. Solomon says that's pride. And remember what we just read. He says, where there is strife, he says, there is pride, but wisdom is found in those who take advice. So let me ask you a question, and we'll be done. I should have seen it coming. I should have seen it coming. Somebody sees it coming. So the question is this: are you going to invite them in? Somebody can see what you can't see. Are you going to invite them in? Somebody can see what you're pretending not to see. Are you going to invite them in? See, wise people know what they don't know, and they're not afraid to engage the people who do know. Wise people know what they don't know, and they're not afraid, and they're not too prideful to go to the people who do know. Wise people know when their emotions are high and their appetites are enraged, and they had better hit the pause button and invite somebody in to the conversation with them. So here's the action for us this week. Listen. Listen. And if you listen, God will use the voices of other people in your life to guide you and to guard you and to ensure that you never have to look back on another season, another relationship, another decision, and wonder, why didn't I see it coming? Let me pray for you. Heavenly Father, Lord, every one of us can look back in our lives. I don't care how old we are, how young we are. And we can look back and we can see on some level some regret because of a decision that we made because we went it alone. And as we look back, we can say, yeah, there was somebody in our lives or there probably was somebody that we could have found who could have seen it coming, but we didn't. And God, we do that because sometimes we're just prideful and we don't want to hear what they're saying, and we just get emotionally attached to a decision or something that we want to do, and so we go ahead and we make that decision and then we regret it. So God, I pray that you would just help us. I pray that you would just help us just to have the conscience of mind when we're making decisions, especially the big decisions, job decisions and financial decisions and decisions about our kids and our marriages and our relationships and dating and all of that. And I pray that you would just give us the presence of mind just to stop and to say, okay, this is emotional for me, so let me bring somebody in. And then I pray you would just give us the right people who would step into those moments in our lives and help us to navigate those challenging life-changing decisions so that we could get to the next season of our life and look back on this one without regret. In Christ's name I pray, amen. Hey, thanks for being here this morning. Hope you have a great week. Sign up for Hypothermia if you haven't already. Our team is out there. They want to talk to you. Stick around if you want to help us with some of the setup. We'd love to have you hang around. But do plan to serve in some way in Hypothermia. We're going to stand and sing one more time, so let's stand and sing as we head out.